And good morning. Welcome to All Falcons. I'm Scott Kennedy, and this is Nick Kendall. And it looks like we've got several people in the chats already. So make sure you hit that like button and share it to some friends. Invite some friends in here. It looks like Clee's already in the house. US Dave's already in the house. He says, Clee says, skinny coach versus non-skinny coach. Who wins? We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Dave, good morning. He says the skinny coach because he's still hungry. You know, I'm going for the size myself. We'll talk about that one anyway. In a little bit. But welcome to All Falcons. On this show, we're going to talk a little bit about reviewing some of the Panthers game, a win that for some reason I just felt good about. I actually picked the Falcons to beat the Panthers after they were dominated so badly at home on Halloween. I just felt like the Panthers were sinking down a drain, and the Falcons will beat a team like that. We'll talk a little bit about that. What went right, what went wrong, what can get better. I want to hit a little bit of mock draft, some of the mock drafts that are coming out and some of the things that just make me go, really? You've got a job for this and they pay you a lot of money for this. Wow. And then we'll finish with a preview of the 49ers game, which is a must win for both teams, for the 49ers and the Falcons, if they want to make the playoffs. And you know, we can't even say the word playoffs with these teams without, hearing Jim Morris Sr. In playoffs, it's just, but yeah, playoffs. 3 or 4 games left. Yeah. And there's a chance. So 6-7 versus 7-6. Both teams are still in it. Heck, there's only 6 teams with winning records in the NFC for 7 spots. So 6-7 means you're right in the thick of it.
14 teams in the NFL right now.
How are you this morning, my friend? I appreciate you being here. I know it was in question with some travel plans.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I am happy to be here. Obviously, there's a bunch of bad weather happening over the Midwest, so got some flights changed, and we're going to be heading out tomorrow. So, but tomorrow afternoon, so I'll be there tomorrow morning as well. And yeah, you mentioned the Falcons being right in the thick of things. How many teams in the NFL do you think have 6 or 7 wins?
All of them.
Every single. You're right. It's actually there's 45 teams that have now. I think it's 14. Which is an insane number. Obviously, that's the most likely to happen with most teams being in the middle.
NFL's dream. We want everybody to be 500. We put an odd number of teams and of games on the schedule this year. Now we want everybody to be 8-9 and 9-8.
Yeah, it is insane. I mean, there are more teams with 6 wins. There are as many teams with 6 wins as I think there are teams with 2, 3, 4, or 5 wins. So it's really congested there in the middle. But I mean, hey. You got a chance fighting this late, especially with what the Panthers have going on, and not to be the nasty guy. How I've disparaged the Panthers roster this season. That's a testament, I would say, to Matt Ryan and the coaching staff and a few of these individual playmakers. I mean, they're definitely getting the most out of a lot of what they have on this roster, the limitations. So hats off to Pease and all those guys for their first year in Atlanta.
And good morning, Ashton. Good morning, little Rand man. Now, I don't watch everybody. I watch a lot, but I don't watch everybody. But you'd be hard pressed to convince me that there are 3 worse rosters in the NFL than the Atlanta Falcons. That said, having the right player in the right spots can elevate a team. And you just mentioned it. You want to see what bad quarterback play looks like? You want to see what a team looks like when you don't have a quarterback? Watch the Carolina Panthers right now. Cam Newton's passer rating the week prior was 5. It was 5. I don't know that I've ever heard of that. He was 5 of 21 for like 50 yards and 2 interceptions. He wasn't much better this week. And then P.J. Walker came in, and you realize why Cam Newton is starting. P.J. Walker wasn't any better either. No. You switch the quarterbacks on this team, and the Panthers win by 4 touchdowns. Matt Ryan is going to be, right now, he's scheduled to be the highest paid player in the NFL, have the highest cap hit in the entire NFL next year. He's not that guy, but he's not bottom 5 either. And it made a difference. It certainly made a difference last week for the Panthers and Falcons.
I mean, dare I say Matt Ryan is playing as a top 10 quarterback this season, and that's as much. I mean, you talked about it on last night's Building the Broncos, but a lot of quarterbacks are not playing very well this season. Lamar Jackson's fallen off. Josh Allen's been erratic as hell, more of a regression. Maybe last year was the aberration. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been playing as well. Russell Wilson's been out. So Matt Ryan, top 10 quarterback this year, especially with how bad the offensive line is, with the weapons on the outside. Hats off to him, man. I had a lot of respect for Matt Ryan coming into the season. Always thought he was very underrated. But what he's doing with this team, this roster, this season, probably some of his his best work because I mean it's limited.
It might be because they've always said, oh, he's just pumping up stat. And to be fair, Matt Ryan's numbers are down too. When we talk about the quarterback play as taking a hit, his numbers are down too.
Yeah.
And then you look at the roster last year and you say, okay, Julio Jones is gone. There's about 700 or 800 yards. Hayden Hurst has maybe 100 yards receiving this year. He had about 600 last year. Calvin Ridley and 1,400 yards is gone. Russell Gage had about 800 or 900 yards last year, and he's on maybe 300 or 400 this year. So it's certainly not stacked. However, Cordero Patterson's playing at an MVP level, and Kyle Pitts is really good. Clee comes in and asks me, says, you use DraftKings, Scott? No, I don't. But I don't gamble because I'm too good at math. And when I gamble on stuff like that, weird things happen. I could go more into that later. Caitlin coming in. That's actually my sister down in Florida. So hello, Caitlin. Caitlin has taken up competitive powerlifting, and she's a badass. So I'm not afraid to say it. I watch her throwing up squats that would spike me into the ground like a sledgehammer. So appreciate you being here. Moose coming in. Moose, I don't remember you coming in before, so welcome. Appreciate you being here. And then Dave, if I missed you, I saw Dave come in. Dave come in, said good morning, Dave. And Little Rain Man coming in also. And yes, the 49ers game is huge.
Yeah.
6-7. I don't know how much time we need to spend on the Panthers game. I think this one was just a team that was playing pretty well, relatively speaking. I think what impressed me the most is, and I want to give credit where credit is due, is I had said before that the Panthers had just flat out bullied the Falcons in the trenches. So take the quarterback play out of it when you're getting bullied in the trenches. They flipped the script on this one. The Falcons were able to get some pressure, and they were able to run the ball. That's serious improvement. And I actually, Nick, if we talk a little bit of mock draft, watching the last couple of weeks, the Falcons still need upgrades across the offensive line, especially right tackle. But to me, it's not as desperate you've got to get a new player right now or you might as well cancel the season like edge and opposite corner is for me. I'm like, okay, I can live with not getting a first round pick at right tackle. I can't live with Steven Means anymore and Fabian Moreau on the corner. We can't do that next year. You just can't.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And shout out to Moose. One of my weird pet peeves. There are no a bummer. I live out here in Seattle. There are no moose out in this side of the world, which is unfortunate. This side of the Cascades, and the Mariners mascot is a moose. What the hell are we doing? That's just, it always drives me nuts. But thank you so much for Moose for joining us today. Yeah, I thought the offensive line played better today, this Sunday for sure. There was a couple plays that stuck out to me where you see some guys get really beat in their one-on-one matchups. The right tackle, there was a 4th and 1 where the center, he held his block, but he got pushed back like 15 feet in the backfield, and good job for Mike Davis for skirting that center, getting beat off the snap there and getting the first down. But overall, I think it's been pretty good. I think I'm going to be a little bit crazy here with you're talking about, and I see it's a comment here from Dave saying that Todd McShay really likes he likes Todd McShay, but come on, another Alabama wide receiver. I feel you, Dave. But I've started to get to the point in my draft evaluation phase where it's like, okay, Nick, the draft is more than the first round, and if that is your number one player on your board, then I don't care. Because no matter what pick you're going to take here in the first round, it's not going to be make or break for your next season. So just get the best player. If that ends up being Jamison Williams, I honestly don't hate it for the Falcons overall. I know you definitely don't like it because of the identity.
I'm
and everything.
about to shillelagh you, so go ahead.
But speed is something that this team really lacks on the boundary, wide receiver on the boundary, and I don't think this Falcons team is a singular player away from making a difference. So if Jamison Williams is by far and away the best player on your board, I don't have a problem with that. You're going to have a bigger issue if you are bypassing the best player on your board for specific positions. That said, this Falcons team, again, is far enough away where I would be still looking to trade down if I was them. But again, if Jamison Williams is there and he's your best player, I don't think you overthink it. That's just me, though. And I totally get you. You know, the offensive line, the defensive line.
My turn.
Yeah, for sure.
You just threw in 3 ifs in there. If, and if, and if, and if, and if. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's too many ifs in there, okay? If Jamison Williams is the best player available, who says that he is? Because no one has Jamison Williams that high. Nobody.
It's coming.
Okay.
He has a lot of momentum right now.
Oh,
Into
I
the
know.
top 15.
Trust me, you can check my Twitter feed. And I said, whatever, wherever he is on your board, go ahead and move him up for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, best player available is relative.
It is.
It is relative. The Falcons went best player available with Kyle Pitts. Theoretically, who says Jamar Chase wasn't the best player available? How about Patrick Surtain? How about Javonte Williams? We'll talk some Broncos. How about Micah Parsons? Yeah. So the best player available is relative, and it's very rarely going to be the guy you pick. I'll whoever you take, I'll give you 10-1 odds that someone behind him ends up having a better career. That's just pure math.
Yeah.
2, 3. So I'm not convinced that Jameson Williams is that guy for one. If you were to tell me right now, I'm going to get Jamar Chase at number 8 or number 9 in Jameson Williams, I'm in. Okay, great. He's a beast. You're set. You got a number 1 for the next 10 years. But it's a crapshoot. It is.
Yeah. Yep.
And this team has so many glaring holes that wide receiver almost becomes a luxury. What good is a wide receiver if you cannot keep Matt Ryan off his back? It is the same thing I said last year about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts isn't going to help you win games so much this year. He's 20 years old when he was drafted. Okay.
Yeah.
And Julio Jones out the door. You need a long-term replacement for Julio Jones. You just got one for the next 12 years. Okay, yeah. I get that. But if Thibodeau was available, if Aiden Hutchinson was available in the last pick, they would have taken him.
Oh, yeah.
They would have taken them because he fit a much greater need, and the margins are so thin, you cannot go into next year with Steven Means as your outside linebacker and Fabian Moreau at corner, and very possibly with Caleb Mcgarry at offensive tackle. So if I've got a guy at number 8 or 9 who is leaps and bounds better than anybody else, one, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So we keep saying if. I'm going to throw that if right out the window. It doesn't happen. I need to get somebody who's a little closer that's going to help my team. That's going to help my team now and not just be a luxury player on the wide receiver. I can go find serviceable wide receivers in free agency. I can find serviceable free guys farther down the draft.
Yeah.
That taking a wide receiver at number 8 or 9 in the top 10 and ignoring these other positions screams Thomas Dimitroff to me, and I can't take it anymore.
For sure. And I'll just I totally feel you, and I'm just trying to add a little bit. This is what is it? First take in the morning. We have to have very bold opposite takes, even if they're not educated. But I definitely feel you. And a guy like Andrew Booth from Clemson at cornerback would make a lot of sense. There maybe George Karlaftis or DeMarvin Leal. You could use him in depth on the defensive line, edge rusher. There's plenty of offensive tackles that could be there. Charles Cross, Ika Makwanu. I don't think Evan Neal will be where the Falcons are picking. All guys who you can make an argument for. But I do think that there is a synergistic effect when you do have a wide receiver that has Jameson Williams' skill set. And the example I will use is Henry Ruggs. Obviously, what's happened with him in that situation just overall is tragic. But what do you think the Raiders Henry Ruggs was in the league essentially 1.5 years. How many games do you think since Henry Ruggs is the last 2 years have the Raiders won when Ruggs has been not on the field?
How much of that is schematics and how much of it is, one of our players just killed somebody?
That's a big thing.
And we lost our coach and we lost all these other things. How much of that stuff, starts piling on too. So I get it, but I don't think
last year.
Have they won a game? I don't know that they've won a game. Have they?
They've won one game without Henry Ruggs, and the offense has imploded. I think they're scoring like 10 less points a game without Henry Ruggs, and they're facing their stacked box rate went from bottom 10 in the NFL to top 7. So the speed that he brings, it totally changes what the safeties have to do, the boxes, and it helps the offensive line because you have more space. Now, I agree with you. I just do think that there's a logical path to where it's like, okay, I'm paying all my scouts this. They say he's the best guy. Do I overject that? Because I have more picks later in the draft. And it's deep at offensive tackle. It's a deep class at edge rusher.
Typically for me, the best strategy is meeting a dire need with the best player available. And if he's not there, I want to come back some. I want to trade down some.
Yep.
Now here we go. The Falcons and part of that draft, and frankly, Dave, I don't know how long you've been watching me. I'm not a fan of Todd McShay, partially because I'm jealous. He has better hair, probably better looking, better job.
He's not better looking.
He has some stuff out there. I don't think he's real good at his job. I really don't. He gives good TV. He looks good on TV, but when it comes to these type of things, and I'll go back. The last straw for me was the Myles Garrett year and his top 10, his first mock draft comes out in the top 10 and it's on a bowl game because I don't watch that stuff typically. But it was on a bowl game, so it's in January. There's plenty of time to make this decision, and he's got 3 quarterbacks in that class going ahead of Myles Garrett, and that was a crap quarterback class. And he had Myles Garrett going like 5th. I'm like, and I tweeted out there at that moment, if 3 quarterbacks go ahead of Myles Garrett, I'll buy everybody here $100 subscription to Scout. Everybody that retweets is 100 or the first whatever. And he's that was ridiculous. That was you can't be that bad at your job. I don't care how quarterback crazy you get, for sure.
Yeah, was it a bad quarterback class? Because that class ended up having their prospects.
The guys that were thought of at the top of the class.
Because you had Mitch Trubisky, obviously. You had DeShone Kizer. Those 2 guys didn't live up to it. But Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes.
DeShone Kizer was one of those that was ahead of Myles Garrett. Sure. And I'm like, DeShone Kizer's not even an NFL quarterback.
Yep. But then you did have Watson and Mahomes.
So, So that's what I mean. The guys thought of at the top. At the very top were not Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett he's going to go number 1 in 9 out of 10 draft classes.
Yep.
If Myles Garrett was in this last class, who would have gone 2? I'm like, okay, somebody gets desperate and takes a quarterback ahead of him. Okay, 1. Yeah. But it was like, it was at least 3. I'm like, no. And DeShone Kizer was one of them. Like, no way. Absolutely no way. I will, I'll bet whatever you want to bet on this.
And just to show the level of prospect he is, like he would have probably gone above Von Miller because he has more size than Von Miller. Obviously went number 1 in that draft. And he would go number 1 over Thibodeau and Hutchinson in this upcoming class. I do think there would be a debate in 2023's draft with Will Anderson because Will Anderson is a freak. Oh my God, Alabama. Oh my
Myles Garrett still would have gotten it.
You think so? I mean, Anderson is
the only one that's going over Myles Garrett in the last several years is the franchise quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Because that's it.
Well, otherwise, I'm putting a pin in it for Will Anderson because he is different, alien.
We'll find out because Will Anderson probably won't go number 1 overall.
No, because Bryce Young, because the franchise quarterback.
So it'd be the quarterback. So, but that was the Myles Garrett discussion.
Yes. Yep. And they're on the same team.
Dave says, do you think he can succeed Mel Kiper? Mel Kiper is a very good information guy. I have a lot of respect for Mel Kiper and the work he puts in. If you actually listen to Mel Kiper when he's not talking about draft and just breaking down teams that he watches getting ready for the draft, Mel Kiper is really good. Now, you give anytime you put your opinion out there, you're gonna and projecting the future, you're gonna be wrong. So you can string those together and say, okay, this guy's an idiot. But anytime you're projecting the future and making trying to guess what's going to happen, you're gonna miss a lot when you do it as much as he does. So I think he does. I think Mel Kiper does a really good job. Can he succeed? Can he come after Mel Kiper? Mel's not going anywhere for a while. But like I said, they love Todd McShay. Like I said, he gives good TV, and the E in ESPN stands for entertainment.
Yeah, and I know that Todd was having some health issues and was away from the game for a little bit. So glad to see that he is doing better on that front because I know there was a scare there. The guy who I think is going to succeed, hopefully, fingers crossed, going to succeed Todd McShay is my guy, Jordan Reed, who is coming from the Draft Network, is now over at ESPN, and he played quarterback in Georgia, not the University of Georgia, but a lower college in Georgia, and he's been a really good evaluator for a number of years. And I've actually had him on Building the Broncos back when we were the only podcast side of things. So shout out to Jordan Reed. I'm happy for him at ESPN, and I'm hoping he's the guy to succeed Mel Kiper.
Well, and EJ, good morning, Nick and Scott. Good morning, EJ. Appreciate you being here. So my final point on that mock draft, that specific one was, it wasn't just that he had Jameis Williams going 8. He had the Falcons passing on Kyle Hamilton and Ojabo. Now, if Ojabo comes out and has numbers similar to I'm forgetting. I'm getting all my names mixed up here.
Odafe Owe?
Him. Owe. Then you don't pass up on him when you've got – if you look at the edge rushers right now, the Falcons have the bottom 2. They've got Steven Means, and then one spot above him is his backup or someone that backs him up. And that's out of 111 eligible players.
It's not good.
Man, you're not passing up on an edge rusher who is a top 10 talent. You're just not. You can't for a wide receiver. And if you were to go best player available, I would go Kyle Hamilton in that spot. You know, Kyle Hamilton certainly fits the best player available. Is he a safety? Is he a position of – he's definitely a position of need. The Falcons have needs everywhere.
Yeah.
So that you can take that one off the board because you could select the best player available and he's going to fill a need everywhere on this team. Except
especially
maybe tight end.
Receiver.
You take another tight end, I'm going to say, what are you doing?
This is not the year to do that.
Maybe tight end.
Yeah. No, totally. I think that's Kyle Hamilton makes a lot of sense. Andrew Booth over at Clemson, get another Clemson cornerback. Andrew Booth is a better athlete than AJ Terrell, a little bit more raw, but he's a freak. Maybe Derek Stingley is in range for you. Kyle Hamilton.
I love that one. I saw a mock from Ryan Wilson and CBS that had Derek Stingley falling all the way to 8 in the Falcons. I'm like, yes, I'll take him.
Yep.
And it's not just that Moreau's bad in coverage because he's not great in coverage. It was watching the Panthers run at the right side of the defense, so to their left tackle. Stephen Means can't set an edge, and Moreau was just there. His lack of effort trying to even clog a lane was pitiful. It was awful. The 2 touchdowns the Panthers had, they were just walking it up the left side. And it's like the guys weren't there, and they weren't. So Dean Pease has to make some adjustments to cover for those guys, which opens up other things that a better quarterback probably could have taken advantage of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And again, Falcons got enough needs on that roster where, you can just pretty much let the board fall as it may. Maybe this is a game where you're happy to beat the Panthers in the moment, but now that they are 1 game ahead of you in the draft standings, maybe that comes back to be a little bit man, I really could have used that offensive tackle that the Panthers just took right in front of me. But again, it's always good to see Cam Newton and the Panthers get beat.
Yeah,
so
and a division game, I don't want to get swept in the division.
Yeah.
No, totally. So at worst, you're 1-1 against the Saints, and you're 1-1 against the Panthers, and you got beat twice by Tampa Bay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm okay. I mean, that's again, it's progress. You're talking progress. Is the team headed in the right direction? That matters. It does. It matters for perception. It matters for the fans. It matters for the community. It matters for support for the team. That going forward here, you mentioned the Raiders. What about the Saints? So I said several weeks ago that the floor for this team was probably 7-10. One more win against the Lions, and you got 7 wins. I said the ceiling was probably 10-7. It's 4 games left, 6-7. You have to go 4-0. That ain't gonna happen. Going to Buffalo, going to San Francisco, Saints at home, maybe.
Yeah, Trevor Siemian experience.
Yeah,
maybe.
So, but
sure.
let's before we get too far ahead of ourselves and we get you out of here. Let's take a look at that San Francisco game. San Francisco 7-6. They've been playing well. I think they've won 4-5.
Yeah.
With their loss coming to the Seahawks, beat the Bengals in Cincinnati last week.
What a game!
26-23. But that game was ugly.
It was. I had a lot of fun.
I didn't see a whole lot that made me think that either one of those teams was unbeatable.
Yeah, I would be a little bit concerned about not a little bit. Everybody, do you whatever gods you pray to. Caleb Mcgarry versus Nick Bosa. Oh my God! I know it was Isaiah Prince out there for the backup right tackle for Cincinnati, but Nick Bosa was playing as good as any edge rusher I've seen this season in that game, and now he goes up against not arguably the worst starting right tackle in football in Caleb Mcgarry so far this season, at least week 1 started right tackle. And man, I think that's enough. That's the reason people take edge rushers that high, because when you have that dominant of a matchup, it's game set match a lot of times because it's so hard to overcome that. It ruins everything you want to do schematically. So that's the one where I have a hard time even looking past Nick Bosa versus Caleb Mcgarry.
Nick, I learned that early when I started covering recruiting, talking to a kid, and I believe he was in Mississippi. He played both sides of the ball, and I was like, hey, you play both sides. What do you like doing better? He says, I like playing defense better. I'm like, really? Okay, tell me more. I said, why? He says, on defense, I can control the play. He says, I can end it. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Playing offensive football, and that's why all the rules in the last 20 years have gone towards the offense, because playing offense is hard. Yeah. You get one guy that doesn't do his job, that play can end. You get one guy that does his job on defense, and he can end that play. So having him on there, I watched Cincinnati trap block the hell out of Bosa in the first half. It was on 3 consecutive plays. The tackle goes right by him, and all of a sudden, Bosa comes in, and here comes a guard. Here comes a tight end trap blocking him. And EJ says, I hope the Falcons pull up the upset over the 49ers. The Niners did look good against the Bengals. Did they? Watching the Bengals fumble the ball around in the first half, the Denver Broncos fans, I just mentioned Falcons fans, you want to complain about quarterback play, watch the Panthers. Good Lord, that's how bad it can be. You want to see bad special teams? It looked like they greased the ball against the Bengals did in the first half of the game. There were 4 drop kicks, 2 fumbles and 2 kickoffs that hit the ground in the first half. They weren't all turnovers, and one of them got called down, but they couldn't hold on to the ball to save their lives. I don't want to go into a game counting on, the other team giving me 4, turnovers like that. I don't think the 49ers looked all that great.
Yeah. No, they have 2 pieces that if you can slow them down, you have a chance. But I'm not sure about the Falcons being able to slow them down. Obviously, Nick Bosa is one of them. The other one is George Kittle. He is healthy. He's out there. I think he had it felt like he had 200 yards against the Bengals. And I know the Bengals were pretty decimated at linebacker, and the Falcons have Deion Jones. So at least they have some athleticism at that second level. But George Kittle, man, he's one of those guys who's going to eat pretty much no matter what. So can you limit him? And the other one is, you talk about the Falcons. You have 2 very small linebackers, a defensive line that number 94, his name always escapes me for the Falcons. I think he's done a pretty good job of just being big and eating blocks. I think it's the big nose tackle you guys brought in from Tennessee.
Anthony Rush.
Yes. Just being big. And I think that's helped schematically. It's helped Grady Jarrett. It's helped the line in general. But this is a team where they're what am I saying? The best outside zone running team in football. They have a H-back and Juszczyk and a tight end and Kittle who can do everything from passing to rushing, and they get you moving laterally and then cut up field as good as anyone. I mean, that's the bread and butter of this Shanahan system. So I'm really curious and nervous for the Falcons to see how they match up here. They are small, but when you can get going sideways and then pushed up field by that offensive line and those blockers that the 49ers have, I mean, that's 5 yards, 6 yards before getting touched sometimes. So it's going to be an interesting schematic game for the Falcons.
So Vincent, welcome. Rise up, Atlanta. He says, absolutely welcome. Glad you're with us this morning, Vincent. And, the schematically, again, that is the scary part, because what the 49ers do well on both sides of the ball, the Falcons aren't great at. It's like, okay, the 49ers are giving up a lot of yards through the air. Great. Who are you going to get the ball to? Who are you going to throw the ball to? Going back, that's why you take a receiver in the first round next year, dum-dum. Matt Ryan's not going to go out there and throw for 350, 360. He might. He did against the Buccaneers, who had a similar type of pass defense. So, but yeah, George Kittle, 13 for 151 and a touchdown last week. So the 49ers are good against the rush, and they're good rushing the ball. That frightens me a little bit, because the Falcons have to be able to run the ball to even slow down the pass rush, to even just give them pause that, hey, they might run the ball. And then if they can't stop the run, everything else opens up. It becomes real easy to beat this defense if you can run the ball.
Yeah, it's not. And the 49ers, their pass defense has been pretty poor this year. But their run defense, looking at it right now, Football Outsiders, number 3 DVOA rush defense so far this season. So they do a good job there. And that's going to make it tough. No doubt about it. Because the Falcons, I don't think you guys need to run the football to protect your quarterback. No doubt about it. Less reps, and it's like the body blows in a boxing match. But you have to also be effective. You can't be, the worst is if you can't run the football. Even worse than not rushing the football is being 3rd and 7+ consistently.
2nd and 11.
Yes. Yep. That kills you. And then you have Mcgarry with Bosa pinning his ears back. Good luck. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup for, I would say on paper, the 49ers, a top 10 also EPA per rush so far this season in run defense. So Falcons, I think a big one here will be getting an early lead, because if not, the 49ers are happy just playing 5 yards at a time, displacing you at the line of scrimmage, 12-play drives plus down the field. And you also have to take advantage, because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to give you 1 or 2 every game. He always does. And you can't be like Jesse Bates last week, where the ball hits your hand and falls to the turf. No, if you're winning this game, those have to go the other way.
That was the Bengals. You just summed up the Bengals right there. Yep. I mean, Jamar Chase was leading the league in drops. He had 1 in the first half, almost made a spectacular catch in the later on, but that one hit the ground. And then their inability to field a ball. We'll talk more about the Bengals on Broncos for breakfast tomorrow. But I'm feeling pretty good about the Broncos against the Cincinnati team if they come out and play like they did against the 49ers. But a couple of good things in Atlanta's favor right now. One, it's on the road. Yes. The Falcons are 6-2 away from Atlanta. 6-2. How are you 6-2 and 0-5 in Atlanta? I mean, I know the teams are a little bit different, but something fluky should have happened where, you got dominated by the Panthers, then you go out and you beat them pretty handily on the road. So on the road, advantage Falcons. That's an advantage. And two, Cordero Patterson was rested last game. He only had like 47% of the snaps. He was in a jacket in the fourth quarter, and he was fine. You're like, you're done. You're done for the day. We got enough horses to play this thing out. We might see a heavy dose of Cordero Patterson against the 49ers, and that's a good thing for the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one 100%. It'll be a good game. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this one. I think the 49ers will end up winning this one. Let's go 24-17. Kind of a classic one.
Let me see over under on this. We'll look at lines real quick and then we'll give predictions. I have to scroll down because it's a late game for a change.
Hey.
The 49ers are 9-point favorites at home.
Mm-hmm.
And the over under is 46. So you said
17. I'm on the under.
Yeah, 41. Okay.
Yep.
I think that sound I like that way that sounds. I was thinking maybe I don't know. I think the 49ers will be able to put up a little more points. I almost think like 31-17 and you're talking about 48 and they cover. I don't feel really good about either one of those as far as for the money line, I'm taking the 49ers. It's a low return. But the 49ers' ability to run the ball and stop the run are going to make it really hard for the Falcons in this game. I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw against the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1, where they just strangled the life out of you. And then have the playmakers to go out there and run between, Kittle. A couple of big wide receivers are going to match up against your porous defensive backs. Garoppolo can just put the ball up in the air and let his guys go make a play. And then they can run the ball. Which I've said several times that, I like 31-17, somewhere in that neighborhood. 49ers win this one. Falcons drop to 6-8. And I think the Lions are coming up after that one. And then it's at Buffalo and then the Saints at home to finish.
It should be a good game. Niners are a fun team to watch. Just how they play. Their pass defense has not been very good this year, so hopefully Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts can find some matchups there. I'm really excited. Is Fred Warner playing? I think he's been out, hasn't he? I
haven't looked at an injury report to see if he's playing or not. I don't remember him hearing his name watching the game against the Bengals.
Yeah, he's good enough where you would see him if he was out there, right? Number 54, he's pretty obvious. So that's too bad because Fred Warner versus Kyle Pitts in those matchups would be, obviously you're not following a Kyle Pitts with a linebacker the whole game because you're dead, but
and because Kyle Pitts lines up out wide most of the time.
Yeah, but they like to flex. They like to flex their linebackers outside. They have another guy who's an undrafted free agent at linebacker who's been playing pretty good. 51 caught my eye a few times watching that Cincinnati 49ers game.
But me too. Al-Shahir.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I thought I liked the way he was coming up and attacking the line of scrimmage in the run game too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, who the hell was that? I remember. Did he go to Washington? For some reason, that name sticks out to me like that. But it was a good game. Hopefully, it'll be a good game with the Falcons, and hopefully, Matt Ryan can avoid Nick Bosa for as long as possible. Caleb Mcgarry, calling you out. Let's see a better game.
Florida Atlantic.
Oh, okay. Okay. It was hopefully again. Nick Bosa versus Caleb Mcgarry. If you can at least somewhat neutralize that, you have a shot. But if he's whipping Mcgarry all game, it's going to be a long day.
Go right at him.
Falcons. Yeah.
Go right at him. I mean, there's two ways to do it, and the Bengals did a good job of it. First, like I said earlier, they were trap blocking the hell out of him in the first half, and then just go at him. You're not going to, again, you don't want Mcgarry in a drop and giving him a running start at Mcgarry because Mcgarry's got no chance. Lee Smith over there. Lee Smith's a dude. I mean, he was
dude. Getting after it this last week.
Mcgarry and Lee Smith over there. Okay. But then you open up some other things for the 49ers. But yeah, Bosa on Mcgarry is will change my my thoughts again that okay, offensive tackle is as big a need as edge and corner.
It's a big one, and we'll just be that much closer to the Falcons drafting Jamison Williams in the top 10, and we'll have a fun one. Scott, no, I'm just giving you a hard time. Have Darren Walker coming in here, rise up, watch the Falcons to use Smith to double block Bosa. Hey,
Great idea.
There's an echo in here, man.
Yeah, no, as it comes in just a couple seconds into our stream, just a couple seconds after you type it. So as you were typing that, or even maybe before, I was saying the exact same thing, Darren. So yeah, Lee Smith's dude. He's when I went and watched practice, he was over there when they'd go to break up into individuals. Lee Smith went with a lineman. But he actually caught a few. I think he's got a career high in receptions, maybe even like matched his career total in receptions this year. But yeah, I agree with you on that. And frankly, Mike Davis in pass protection is going to be important. He's a solid blocker when you got 3 wide receivers out there. You got 5 in protection. You leave him back to pick up a blitz or something. Mike Davis is a solid blocker. He's going to be important in the passing game because for Matt Ryan's limitations and the receivers that they have out there, this team is susceptible to the pass. So let's see some crossing routes. Russell Gage has been playing well. Keep it going, Russ. Let's see what and let's target Kyle Pitts about 15 times and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I will see you all tomorrow morning again for Broncos for breakfast. Not the Falcons fans here, but always appreciate you Falcons fans. And I always think you guys, the black and red. I talked with my wife about it. She's like, "Oh, it's always the evil team." I'm like, "No, black and red. Nothing looks better than black and red and white together." So those Falcons, they need to be better because those uniforms are too clean to not be winning games and being the bad boys down there in the South, the Dirty Birds. So
as a child of the 80s, I loved the Reds. I love the red jerseys.
Oh, yes.
Jerry Glanville, it changed to black with Jerry Glanville, and it started feeling a little gimmicky to me. But sometimes, they had some success in those blacks too. So on that note, everybody, appreciate you coming in today and watching. As always, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share button again as on your way out. It's a big help to us. I think I'm at 931 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
Close.
So I'm going to put a shout out to all friends and family here tonight and see if we can't get that over 1,000. Because once we hit 1,000, we're cooking with gas. Then this channel monetizes, and it becomes a way for us to earn a living and do this more often instead of just when we have time to do things as we're building this up. So certainly appreciate you being here. And Mo coming in saying, long gone into the days of Stacey Bailey and Floyd Dixon. Stacy was great. Stacy lives close to here. His son actually went to Milton High School, not too far from me. Sean Bailey was a 5-star recruit, and lots of former Falcons that stick around in the area. But yeah, Stacy Bailey was a pretty good one. Alfred Jenkins, Alfred Jackson, Julio Jones. There's been some good receivers, good skill players come through Atlanta. But until next time, we'll be back here Wednesday at 10 a.m. next week. And if you have any thoughts or questions, come over to my YouTube channel and hit the comments. I check them constantly, and I get the notifications on those, and I'd be happy to continue the discussion. But until next week, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.